They said nobody could tame Okoye Holdings, a company where the rich grew richer and the poor were ground into silence. She owned a company she do not visit but left it under the care of trusted employees. They said the corruption inside those glass towers on Odiola Odiku was deeper than the Atlantic that washed the shores of Lagos. They said the workers suffering inside that building had no savior. But they didn't know the real owner had returned. And she wasn't coming as a CEO. She was coming as a cleaner. Before we dive deeper into this powerful Nigerian story, make sure you subscribe to Tales by Addison, where real stories, dramatic twists, and unforgettable lessons come alive. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. Now, let's begin. The morning sun rested gently on the skyline of Victoria Island as Lagos slowly shook awake. Traffic was building, downfall conductors were already shouting destinations, and workers were spilling out of tiny apartments in Oja, Yoba, Ogudu, and Ikorodu, heading into the city that swallowed dreams and spat out survival. Inside a quiet, gated mansion in Ikoyi, Mrs. Oluchi Okoye, widow, billionaire, philanthropist, and owner of Okoye Holdings, stood in front of a mirror. Not as a CEO. Not as a board chairman. Not as the woman newspapers called Iron Lady of Lagos. But as a cleaner. Her wig was cheap and rough. Her slippers were the type you'd buy from the roadside for 800 Nigerian nairas. Her polo shirt had faded beyond resurrection. And the mop she held wasn't for decoration, she had practiced with it for weeks. Because today wasn't about wealth. Today was about justice. She whispered to her reflection, "Let them think I'm nobody. Let them show their true colors." Her heart tightened at the memory of what brought her here. 2 months earlier, Oluchi had been in Dubai during a charity event when an anonymous email slipped into her inbox. The subject line was short. "Your staff are suffering." She almost ignored it, until she opened the message and saw the pictures. Workers queuing for hours to receive half salaries. Cleaners crying after 2 months of unpaid wages. Factory staff sleeping in the company warehouse because HR refused to release their transport allowance. A junior intern fainting from hunger. And worst, screenshots of WhatsApp messages from top managers mocking poor people who cannot complain. Oluchi's hands had trembled. This was her company. Her legacy. Her late husband's empire. She spent billions on charity yearly, yet under her own roof, wolves were feeding on her workers. Her blood boiled like Lagos sun in April. She had immediately ordered internal investigations, but the HR director, Mr. Majek, and his clique had quickly covered their tracks. Every report she received claimed all systems functioning perfectly, more lies. Decorated lies. And then the anonymous whistleblower sent the final bombshell, a voice note of the managers laughing, bragging, boasting. Even if the madam comes back, how will she know? No cleaner go tell am. Oluchi didn't sleep that night. Her heart beat slowly, dangerously. Cleaner. And that was when the idea sparked. If her own managers were corrupt, then she needed to see with her own eyes. Not as the CEO. Not as the billionaire. But as the lowest ranked worker in the entire building. A cleaner. Oluchi called no one. Not her board. Not her extended family. Not even a personal assistant. Only one person knew, her childhood friend and lawyer, Amarochi. "You want to go undercover?" Amarochi asked, shocked. Oluchi nodded. "I want to see everything myself. I want to feel what the suffering feels like. I want to know the beast in my own palace." Amarochi tried to protest, "But you're a public figure. Newspapers will. No one will know," Oluchi said firmly. "For once in my life, I will work as the invisible." And she meant it. She spent 2 months practicing how to talk like a cleaner, how to walk like one, how to blend in. She learned how to push a mop bucket without spilling. Hold her back straight while scrubbing floors. Tie a cleaning scarf like the women from Ijibu who worked in bank halls. Avoid eye contact like someone afraid of losing their job. Speak pidgin naturally, not like someone forcing it. She even researched typical salaries so she could answer questions if the staff asked. By the end of the 2 months, Oluchi could pass for any regular Lagos cleaner. Poor. Unnoticed. Ignored. At 5:30 a.m., her driver dropped her 1 street away from Okoye Holdings headquarters, a 28-floor glass building standing proudly on Odeola Odiku. But today, it felt like a battleground. Oluchi inhaled deeply, pulled her cap low, and walked into the compound like any ordinary worker starting the morning shift. The security man barely looked at her. Just waved. "Cleaner people, una don't come. Make una sign that register day front. Abeg no make noise today. Oga Mejek get bad mood." Oluchi's eyebrow twitched. Mejek. One of the corrupt wolves. She forced a submissive smile. "Yes, sir." Inside the reception hall, she met other cleaners, 3 middle-aged women and 1 young guy in his early 20s. Their uniforms looked worn. Their faces carried the tiredness of people who had seen too much. One of the elderly cleaners, Mama Peace, looked at Oluchi and shook her head sympathetically. "You be the new cleaner?" she asked in Igbo. "Yes, ma," Oluchi answered, lowering her voice. "Chai, you don't enter Waller Company oh," Mama Peace sighed. "These managers wicked no be small. They know they pay salary on time. Them fit shout for you anyhow. Just manage 'em. Work no day outside." Oluchi's chest tightened painfully. She murmured, "Thank you, ma." Soon the cleaners lined up to clock in. As they waited, a man in a sharp suit walked past them. He didn't greet. He didn't look at their faces. Instead, he muttered loudly enough for them to hear. "Useless people. If una no sweep well today, una go hear 'em." The cleaners kept quiet. But Oluchi's hands clenched. The war had begun. The cleaners followed the hallway to the staff entrance, their slippers tapping quietly against the marble floor. The building was cold, too cold for such an early hour, and the fluorescent lights hummed softly, giving the entire corridor an eerie feel. Oluchi held her mop like a shield, absorbing everything with sharp, trained eyes. Here, nobody smiled. Nobody laughed. Everyone moved like they were afraid of breathing too loudly. As they walked, Mama Peace whispered, "My sister, just they watch. This company get good name for outside, but inside. Not only God they save us." Oluchi nodded faintly, pretending to be timid, but inside her heart, fire roared. At exactly 6 a.m., all cleaners were gathered in the basement for the daily briefing. The room was tiny, with cracked walls and rusted chairs, nothing like the luxurious boardrooms on the upper floors. A supervisor, a short, aggressive man with a potbelly, barged in and shouted, "All of una stand. When I enter, una suppose stand. Why una no get sense?" The cleaners scrambled to their feet. Oluchi too. He paced like a drill sergeant. "Yesterday, Oga Mejek complained say the 12th floor toilet no dey shine. Which one of una clean am?" Silence. His eyes landed on a quiet woman in the corner. A single mother named Ruth. "You," he barked. "Come out here." Ruth stepped forward trembling. "You dey mad. You want make them sack me. You no sweep behind the door. You no polish the mirror. You want spoil my name." Before Ruth could speak, he slapped her broom off her hand. It clattered to the floor. "Pick it." Oluchi felt her veins freeze. She had never seen an employee treated like that, not even when she was growing her husband's business from scratch. Ruth bent quickly and picked the broom with shaking hands. The supervisor hissed, "Useless people. If una no work well today, salary go delay again. Salary, delay. Again." Oluchi's anger pressed like a stone in her chest. She looked around at the other cleaners. Their faces were full of resignation, as if this humiliation was normal. She kept quiet. But she recorded everything in her mind. This was evidence. This was truth. This was what she came to see. By 6:30 a.m., they were given their assignments. Mama Peace touched Oluchi's shoulder gently. "You follow me today. I go show you how things they run. They took the service elevator up to the 8th floor, human resources. As soon as the elevator opened, they heard laughter, loud, mocking laughter. 3 HR staff were sitting around the reception desk with takeaway cups of iced coffee. One of them, a slim lady with harsh makeup and a sharp tongue, said, "Oh, una don't come. Sweep fast abeg. HR meeting day morning. And no talk too loud. Oga Mejek dey vex since yesterday." As they began sweeping, another HR lady whispered loudly, "Chai, see as cleaners they look tired. If them like, make them die. No salary we no go pay." The others burst into laughter. Oluchi's grip on the mop tightened until her knuckles whitened. She glanced at Mama Peace, who swept silently, eyes lowered, expression empty. "How una dey cope?" Oluchi whispered softly. Mama Peace didn't look up. "We no get choice, my daughter. Work no dey this Lagos. If you talk, them go sack you. Some of us get children. Some get sick husband. Some never see salary for 2 months. But we dey manage. 2 months. 2 months. Oluchi felt a dark cloud settle in her chest. Her staff, working without pay, under people who drank iced coffee bought with stolen company money. Her breathing changed. But she forced herself to remain calm. Her time would come. At 7:15 a.m., the elevator doors opened again, this time, with the man she had been waiting for. Mr. Mejek. Tall. Dark-skinned. Expensive suit. Swagger in his walk. The kind of man who believed the whole world should kneel for him. As he strutted past the cleaners, he didn't look at their faces. Instead, he frowned and snapped. "Why una dey here by this time? Why this place never shine? Una no get sense." Mama Peace bent slightly. "Sorry sir, we dey finish." "Shut up," he barked. "Who talk to you? You think say you're sorry go clean the floor?" Then his eyes landed on Oluchi. The new cleaner. "Who be this one?" he asked harshly. "New staff, sir," Mama Peace answered. Mr. Mejek sneered. "She resemble person we go lazy. Make sure she work double. No break for new staff." Oluchi kept her face humble. But inside her heart, a storm brewed. She memorized every word he said. Every insult. Every arrogance. "You are finished," she thought silently. At 10 a.m., when the cleaners finally had a small break, they went down to the basement cafeteria. The room smelled of cheap stew and old oil. 2 bulbs were flickering. The chairs were cracked. There was no fun. As they sat, Ruth whispered, "Our salary never come for this month. And last month." Oluchi asked carefully. They all laughed. A sad kind of laughter. "Last month. We never see Mama P said. Them talk say, system error, delay But management people dey buy new cars every week," another cleaner added. "Yesterday, them say they won't cut our salary because company dey struggle," Ruth murmured. Oluchi's heart shattered. These were her workers. Her people. The ones who kept her building clean, who ensured the offices were presentable, who worked before sunrise and after sunset. And they were being starved. "I heard say the HR team dey chop cleaning budget," the young guy said suddenly. Him talk say madam no dey check anything. Say no free money. Oluchi froze. Madam. Her. They were using her name to steal from her people. Her heartbeat slowed. She inhaled. Then whispered to herself. This wickedness must end. As the break ended and they rose to continue their duties, Oluchi paused by the doorway. She looked at the tired faces around her. Women with swollen feet. Men with hopeless eyes. Mothers doing double jobs to feed their children. People with no voice. She lifted her mop. Not as a cleaner, but as a weapon. "I will destroy this corruption brick by brick," she whispered in her spirit. "Even if I must walk this building for months. Even if I must clean every floor. Even if I must watch them insult me. I will not stop." Until every wicked person is exposed. Her war had officially begun. By noon, the office floors buzzed like a disturbed beehive. Keypads clicked, phones rang endlessly, and executives moved with the arrogance of people who believed the world rotated around their signatures. But deep inside all that noise, Oluchi moved like air, unseen, unheard, unnoticed. And that was exactly what she needed. She memorized every face. Every corridor. Every conversation the senior staff didn't hide because cleaners don't matter. Today, she was invisible. Tomorrow, she would be their nightmare. Around 12:45 p.m., as she dusted the 10th floor hallway, she overheard voices coming from the conference room. The door was slightly open. She paused. Inside, two managers, Mr. Keod and Miss Temideo, were arguing. "Temi, use your brain." Keod hissed. "If we release all the benefits this month, how you want take settle the people we collect from us?" Temideo snapped her fingers. "No be me go lose money because of cleaners. Abeg, delay their money. No be new thing. Delay. But we've delayed for 2 months already. And, delay the third one. Who go complain? Cleaners. Huh. Cleaners no get voice. They no fit write report. They no fit do meeting. They no get anyone for management backing them." Keod paused. Then whispered the words that made Oluchi's stomach harden into stone. "And madam no dey around to check anything." Temideo scoffed. "Even if she dey around, you think she get time? Billionaire like that. Abeg, use your head." Oluchi swallowed. Her throat burned. She reached for a paper on her cart, pretending to wipe the door, but her ears stayed open, catching every devilish detail. "You dey hear say some staff talk to union?" Keod asked in a low voice. "Union? In this company?" "Abeg no make me laugh," Temideo said. "We go sack all of them if them try 'em." Oluchi froze. Sack them? For trying to fight for their rights. Her heartbeat thudded like a drum. Enough was enough. She quietly moved away before they noticed her, but the poison of their words followed her like smoke. By 1:30 p.m., Oluchi was assigned to the restroom on the 11th floor. As she entered, she found Ruth, the cleaner who had been humiliated earlier, sitting on a stool, head in her hands, crying silently. "Ruth." Oluchi whispered. Ruth hurriedly wiped her tears. Sorry, sis. I no want disturb you." "What happened?" Ruth hesitated. Then her voice cracked. "My daughter dey hospital. She get asthma. Doctor say she need drugs today. But I no get money. Salary never come again." Oluchi felt her chest twist. "How much you need?" she asked softly. Ruth shook her head hard. "I no want borrow anything. If I borrow, how I want pay back? Better make I pray." Oluchi wanted to hug her. To transfer 100,000 Nigerian nairas instantly. To end her suffering. But she restrained herself. Anonymity was her power. Instead, she asked, "Why you no tell HR?" Ruth laughed bitterly. "Tell HR. HR go tell me say company dey struggle. But last week them do surprise birthday for Temideo. Them order cake way pass 150,000 Nigerian nairas." Oluchi clenched her jaw. Ruth continued, "If them pay us our full salary, I no go dey cry here. But them they cut am anyhow. Them they talk say, cleaner no need full salary, . Oluchi fought tears. She wasn't an emotional woman, business had trained that out of her, but today, her heart was water. She touched Ruth's shoulder gently. "God dey. Your daughter go dey fine." Ruth nodded weakly. "Amen." As Oluchi cleaned the mirrors, her reflection stared back at her. Not as a cleaner, but as a judge. A quiet judge collecting evidence. Waiting for the final day of judgment. At 2:30 p.m., something strange happened. As she pushed her cleaning cart back toward the service elevator, she felt eyes on her. She turned. A young man in a navy blue suit, slim, sharp, with calculating eyes, was standing at the corridor corner, watching her. He didn't smile. He didn't move. He just stared. Oluchi's instincts tingled. She had lived long enough to know when someone's curiosity wasn't innocent. The man stepped closer. "You, new cleaner, ABI." "Yes, sir," she said, lowering her gaze. "What's your name?" "Chioma," she lied smoothly. The man nodded slowly. Then said something unexpected. "I've never seen you before. And I noticed things." Oluchi's blood warmed. She forced a nervous laugh. "I just started today, sir." As I scanned her face. "You look like somebody I've seen before." Oluchi froze inside. But she kept her head bowed. "Must be mistake, sir." He shrugged but didn't look convinced. Then he smiled oddly. "That's fine. Welcome anyway. Be careful in this building." "Sir." He leaned slightly closer and whispered. "Everybody here know be who you think they are." Then he walked away. Oluchi remained still. A cold breeze ran over her skin, even though there was no air conditioner near her. Who was that man? And why did he say that? Was he a threat? Or an ally? She didn't know yet. But she would soon find out. By 3:30 p.m., she returned to the basement to wash her mop. The cleaners were sitting quietly, exhausted from a day of endless tasks. As she wrung the mop, her phone, hidden deep in her pocket, vibrated. She stepped aside and checked it privately. Anonymous message: "You're in danger. Someone suspects you. Be careful." Oluchi's heart skipped. Was it the whistleblower? Was it someone inside? Or was she being watched more closely than she realized? She typed back, "Who are you?" No reply. She slipped the phone back into her pocket. Her mission had just gotten riskier. But she wasn't backing out. If anything, this made her even more determined. As the cleaners prepared to close for the day, the potbelly supervisor walked in, this time panicking slightly. "Everybody listen. Tomorrow morning, audit people they come. Make sure everywhere they shine. If them see any dust, I go deal with all of una." Mama P sighed. "Audit? Which audit? Since when?" "No sudden audit," he snapped. Then he stormed out. Mama P shook her head. "They don't chop money somewhere again. Anytime audit come, them they panic." Oluchi's heart lifted. An audit. Unexpected. Unplanned. Perfect. She whispered to herself. Time done they reach. The day grew brighter as the office floors of Okoye Holdings filled with staff rushing through the corridors. Lifts dinged, heels clicked, and conversations floated through the air like scattered whispers. Everyone looked busy. Everyone looked important. Everyone looked unaware that their billionaire employer was quietly pushing a mop down the hallway. Oluchi moved with measured restraint, her back slightly bent, her steps humble and light. She watched everything. She listened to everything. Nothing escaped her attention. She noticed how junior staff stepped aside fearfully whenever a senior manager approached, as though the air itself had to clear a path for them. She saw how some departments worked with energy and purpose, while others moved under an atmosphere of tension. Most of all, she noticed the fear. It was everywhere, in the cleaners, the security men, the secretaries, the junior officers. It settled like a fog in the building, thick and suffocating. But fear had no place in her heart today. She was not here as Mrs. Oluchi Okoye, the billionaire philanthropist. She was here as Ada, the new cleaner. And Ada was invisible. Around noon, Oluchi was assigned to the 15th floor, accounts and payroll. The very floor where workers' fates were sealed. The hall was spotless, not because the cleaners had time to rest, but because the accountants were treated as the wealthy section of the building. Every surface glowed with polished glass. Every office was adorned with leather chairs, air conditioners humming softly, and plants imported to reduce stress. The irony was almost painful. Mama Peace leaned toward Oluchi and whispered, "Be careful here. Anyone that talks too much on this floor always gets punished. Punished how? Oluchi asked quietly. Salary deduction. Suspension. Anything. Oluchi's jaw tightened. As they began cleaning, she heard two accountants chatting near the water dispenser. One whispered, "Did you hear? Management has held back the cleaners' salaries again." The other chuckled softly. Of course. Majek said the company needs to cut costs. But you know how these things go, the money never actually returns to the company. So where does it go? Into certain pockets. They both laughed quietly and walked away. A cold wave passed through Oluchi's chest. There it was, confirmation. Corruption inside the accounts floor. Money diverted. Workers unpaid. And she, the owner, reduced to scrubbing floors while the thieves walked around freely. Her grip on the mop tightened. Her knuckles turned pale. But she forced herself to breathe slowly. This was why she came undercover. This was why she became invisible. She needed to see the truth, not through reports, not through filtered summaries, not through polished presentations, but through her own eyes. She kept scrubbing. At exactly 12:40 p.m., a senior accountant stepped out of his office. He was a tall man with bleached knuckles, an oversized belt, and the arrogant confidence of someone who believed the world rotated beneath his feet. He pointed at Oluchi without an ounce of respect. "You," he said sharply. "Come here." Oluchi walked toward him, lowering her gaze to maintain her disguise. "Yes, sir." He didn't even bother to speak to her. He tossed his half-empty paper cup at the floor and said, "Clean that." The cup rolled to her feet. The liquid inside splashed her slippers. She knelt quietly and picked it up. He was watching her. He wanted to see if she would react. She didn't. She swallowed the anger burning inside her chest and continued cleaning. The accountant laughed softly and walked away. "It's good to remind them of their place," he said to a colleague. Oluchi paused. Their place. What place? She wiped the floor slowly, carefully, but inside her heart, a storm raged. If only they knew they had just humiliated their employer. But she could not reveal herself yet. A queen only unveils herself when the throne is ready. Later in the afternoon, while cleaning a corner of the accounts floor, Oluchi noticed a file left carelessly on a desk. The tag on it read, "Departmental salary allocation, not for circulation." No one was watching. She moved closer, pretending to dust the desk, but her eyes scanned the document quickly. Her heart dropped. The figures were wrong. Very wrong. The budget for cleaners' salaries had been marked as released. But it had never reached the workers. Another page showed. Administrative restructuring allowance approved by HR. The amount was massive, far too large for any legitimate purpose. Then she saw the names. A list of 5 individuals. Majek. Nkem. Tonji. Sarah. One name blurred beneath a coffee stain. All marked as beneficiaries. Oluchi's stomach twisted. They were stealing openly. Signing their own shares. Robbing workers who earn less than a fraction of what they spent on lunch. She closed the document gently and returned it exactly as it was. But she had seen enough. She now understood the scale of the corruption. It wasn't one manager. It was a whole system. A well-organized circle of greed built on the suffering of innocent people. She inhaled deeply. Her resolve strengthened. This story was bigger than she expected. And the wolves were hungrier than she imagined. At around 3:20 p.m., Oluchi was sent to clean the stairwell between the 10th and 11th floors. The staircase was quiet, echoing with distant office chatter. As she began sweeping, she heard a soft sound. A whimper. A muffled sob. She stepped closer. There, sitting on the steps with her knees drawn to her chest, was Ruth, the cleaner who had been humiliated that morning. Her eyes were swollen. Her breathing shaky. Oluchi knelt beside her. "My dear, what's wrong?" she asked softly. Ruth wiped her face. Nothing, Ma. I am fine. That is not fine, Oluchi said gently. Tell me. Ruth hesitated, then her voice cracked. My daughter has been sent home from school. I owe the last term's fees. And I haven't received salary in 2 months. I can't pay rent. I can't buy food. I don't know what else to do. Tears streamed down her face again. Oluchi felt her own throat tighten. She wanted to tell Ruth everything, who she truly was, what she had planned, how she was going to set things right. But she couldn't. Not yet. Instead, she held Ruth's hands gently. I promise you, Oluchi said quietly, her voice steady, things will not remain like this. Your suffering will not be wasted. Someone is watching. Someone is listening. And justice will come. Ruth nodded weakly, though she didn't understand. Oluchi helped her stand. And as they walked back to their duties, Oluchi whispered to herself. I will not allow anyone to break my people again. The day's work continued with a harsh rhythm, cleaning, scrubbing, organizing, and quietly enduring the invisible weight of mistreatment. Oluchi kept her steps measured, her gaze low, her posture humble. But her mind was sharp, recording every detail like a hidden camera. By noon, she had gathered enough observations to confirm the corruption was far worse than she had imagined. Departments were deliberately diverting cleaning supplies and transportation budgets. Managers were falsifying attendance sheets to justify refusing salaries. Several workers were still reporting to duty even with unresolved medical issues simply because they feared being replaced. Everything was rot. Everything was diseased. And yet the building's exterior sparkled, just like all the lies her management fed the public. But today, the disease would begin to unravel. At 12:45 p.m., while wiping down glass doors on the 10th floor, Oluchi overheard voices coming from a conference room with slightly open blinds. She slowed her movements. Inside, she saw 4 managers, including Mr. Majek, leaning over the table. Their tones were low but urgent. Madam Oluchi will return next month, one said. Majek scoffed. And what will she find? Nothing. We already deleted the complaints file. We must also change the salary records, another added. The missing payments must be written as voluntary staff loans. Oluchi felt something hot flare in her chest. A cold, calculated attempt not only to steal, but to bury evidence of the theft. Majek leaned back confidently. My friends, relax. Madam has no idea what happens here. She trusts reports too much. As far as she knows, the company is in perfect shape. Besides, she's too soft. Even if she suspects anything, she will forgive us. That woman cannot fight. A slow, dangerous calm settled over Oluchi. She whispered quietly under her breath. You will learn who I am. At 2 p.m., the cleaners were called to the executive floor. A meeting was approaching, and the place needed to be spotless. As Oluchi swept the reception area, a young man in a designer suit walked by holding a bottle of water. Without warning, he intentionally dropped the bottle, letting water spill across the marble floor. He looked directly at Oluchi. Clean that, he said. She nodded and reached for the mop. But before she could begin, he stepped into the puddle, dragging the water across the clean tiles, leaving streaks with every step. Can you clean properly at all? He snapped. Or is working here too difficult for you? His tone was degrading. His expression, pure entitlement. The other cleaners pretended not to notice. They had seen too many things. They had swallowed too much humiliation. They had learned to survive by silence. But Oluchi felt the sting deeply, not because she was insulted as a cleaner, but because he felt so comfortable humiliating someone who posed no threat. Power without restraint was the most dangerous kind. She kept her composure and cleaned the mess without reacting. Her silence was not weakness, it was strategy. When the man left, one of the junior accountants who had watched from afar approached her. He was a quiet young man, barely in his 20s, with a polite voice and honest eyes. Madam, sorry, Ma, sorry, he stuttered, searching for the right words. I mean, miss. I apologize for what he did. Oluchi turned to him slowly. You don't need to apologize for another person's character, she said gently. The young man nodded. My name is Samuel. I work downstairs. I just wanted to say, not everyone here is wicked. Some of us see what's happening. We just fear losing our jobs. Oluchi studied him. He was frightened, yet brave enough to speak truth. Why don't you report the behavior? She asked softly. Samuel glanced around before whispering. Many of the top managers are connected. They protect each other. Complaints disappear. Evidence vanishes. Anyone who speaks up gets transferred, demoted, or dismissed. Just like the whistleblower had said. What do workers really need most? She asked. He exhaled shakily. Honestly, justice. Fair treatment. Salaries paid when due. Respect. We are not asking for much. Oluchi placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture she had not used in years. Thank you for your honesty, she said. He nodded again, then walked away quickly, afraid of being seen talking to her for too long. But his words stayed with her. This company needed more than repairs. It needed cleansing. It needed rebirth. And she would give it that. Later in the afternoon, an announcement circulated throughout the building. The board of directors will be visiting the company in 48 hours for an unplanned audit. Panic erupted immediately. Managers dashed around the floors. Phones rang non-stop. Staff scrambled frantically to produce documents they had ignored for months. Majek moved through the office like a man fighting a storm. Call the HR team. We need to adjust the attendance records. Someone delete the old complaint logs, now. Who printed this budget report? It's too obvious. I want every department head in my office in 5 minutes. Chaos. Pure chaos. Oluchi remained quiet, cleaning slowly, watching them crumble. A simple audit, something an honest manager welcomes, had turned their world upside down. Which meant one thing. Their guilt was deep. By evening, after the building had emptied slightly, she found herself standing alone in the janitor's closet, surrounded by mops and buckets. She leaned her back against the wall and closed her eyes. The weight of everything settled on her. The countless workers suffering. The manager stealing. The lies told in her name. The humiliation endured quietly. The fires erased. The voices silenced. The hopes crushed. She inhaled deeply. Justice was coming, but justice required precision. How do I bring them down? Whom do I expose publicly? How do I protect the innocent workers? How do I restore the company's dignity without destroying the livelihood of thousands? She knew she had one final step to take before the conclusion. She would gather evidence, real evidence, before revealing herself. And she would make sure no corrupt official had the chance to escape or manipulate the truth. The time of reckoning was near. The final storm was gathering. As she stepped out of the closet later that evening, ready to join the cleaners closing for the day, she heard raised voices coming from the corridor. It was Ruth, the cleaner who had been humiliated earlier, standing in front of Majek and the aggressive supervisor. Her voice shook. Sir, please, my salary. My daughter is sick. I need to buy medicine. Majek's expression was cold. If you don't like the salary schedule, resign. Nobody is forcing you to stay here. Tears welled in Ruth's eyes. She clasped her hands desperately. Please, sir, please. The supervisor laughed lightly. Go home, woman. Stop disturbing us. Ruth fell to her knees. Please, I am begging. Majek stepped back as if her presence disgusted him. Security, he barked. Remove this cleaner from here. When two guards approached, Oluchi felt something inside her break. Something deep, something silent, something that had been holding her back for days. Enough was enough. She took a step forward. Slowly. Calmly. Deliberately. For the first time since she entered the building, she raised her chin. Her voice was low, controlled, but dangerous. Touch her, and you will answer to me personally. The guards froze. Majek blinked, confused. The air grew still. Something in Oluchi's posture had changed, only slightly, but enough to send a ripple of unease across the hallway. She no longer looked like a cleaner. She looked like someone who commanded power, even if they didn't yet understand why. Majek narrowed his eyes. "And who exactly are you?" he asked. Oluchi looked him straight in the eyes. A hint of fire flickered there. "You'll know soon enough." Ready for the final segment. The boardroom on the 21st floor had never been this silent. Not during quarterly reviews, not during shareholder disputes, not even during the late Chief Okoye's memorial service. Today, silence ruled because something unimaginable had just happened. The new cleaner, the small woman they dismissed for weeks, the woman they mocked, shouted at, insulted, had just walked into the boardroom. But not as a cleaner. She walked in wearing a fitted black blazer, her natural hair combed elegantly backward, her posture tall and commanding. Every eye followed her, confused. Every heart froze. The managers looked at one another. "Is that not? No. It can't be. She looks like." Then she spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, dangerous. "Good morning, Mrs. Oluchi Okoye said. Let us begin." Gasps exploded across the room. Ruth, Mama Peace, and the other cleaners, invited secretly that morning, covered their mouths in shock. Mr. Majek turned pale. His throat pulsed like he was choking on his own heartbeat. Oluchi stepped forward and placed her ID card on the table. Her real ID card. CEO, Okoye Holdings. There was no more pretending. The room shook with whispers. She continued, "Before we proceed, let me reintroduce myself. For the past month, I have worked among your lowest-ranked staff, your cleaners. I saw everything. I heard everything. I lived everything." Her eyes swept across the table like searchlights. "And today, I am here to deliver justice." Her voice carried the weight of thunder. The projector came on with a soft click. A large screen descended behind her. Oluchi motioned to her assistant, who tapped a laptop. The first slide appeared. CCTV footage, HR office, 2 months ago. Managers laughing about withholding salaries. Screenshots of messages mocking workers. Transactions showing diverted funds. Videos of Mr. Majek insulting cleaners. As each clip played, the room grew colder. Then audio recordings followed. Majek's voice boomed throughout the boardroom. "If they don't like the delay, let them resign. They are replaceable." Another clip. "Cleaning budget is free money. Madam doesn't check anything." Yet another. "Cleaners benefits. Remove half. Who will question us?" Gasps. Hands flew to mouths. Managers exchanged stunned looks. Some began to shake. Then the final clip played, the one that destroyed every illusion of innocence. "Even if Madam returns, what will she do? The company is in our hands. She respects us too much to suspect." Silence. A deadly silence. Oluchi turned to face them. Her voice was low but lethal. "You believed I was blind. You believed power belonged to you, not to truth. Today, everything you stole, you will return." She pulled out a stack of sealed envelopes. "Mr. Majek," she said. His eyes lifted slowly, full of terror. "You are hereby relieved of your duties as HR director. Security will escort you and retrieve your access privileges." He swallowed hard. "More, please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain," she replied. "We all listened to your explanation already. You recorded it with your own mouth." 2 security officers stepped forward. Majek's legs buckled. They had to drag him out. Next. Mrs. Kofayat Ahmed, head of payroll. The woman burst into tears immediately. "Ma, I have children. And the cleaners do not? Oluchi asked sharply. The woman collapsed into her chair, defeated. One by one, the corrupt officers were called. 5 suspended on the spot. 3 terminated immediately. 2 handed over for legal investigation. 1 placed on travel restriction. Justice had arrived without apology. Then Oluchi turned to the cleaners at the back of the room. Ruth. Mama Peace. Chinedu. Grace. The youngest cleaner, Samuel. She smiled, genuinely. Please come forward. They hesitated, unbelieving. But she nodded softly, encouraging them. They walked to the front, trembling. Oluchi faced the entire board. These are the people who held this company together while you destroyed it. The managers bowed their heads in shame. She continued. Effective today, every cleaner will receive full salary, full benefits, health support, and hazard allowance. No more delays. Tears welled in their eyes. And more importantly, she turned to Ruth first. Ruth, you showed endurance under cruelty. You are promoted to supervisor of cleaning operations. Ruth covered her mouth and began to sob. Next. Mama Peace, your leadership, your kindness, your wisdom, you are now officially the manager of staff welfare. Mama Peace fell to her knees, crying. Oluchi bent quickly and lifted her up. You don't kneel to me, she whispered. You kneel only to God. Then to Chinedu. Young man, you have brilliant ideas. I listened to you. You are now transferred to administrative services with full training support. His eyes widened. And to Samuel, the youngest among you. I will sponsor your education. You will not remain here unless you choose to. The boy burst into tears. The boardroom was filled with emotion, raw, overwhelming emotion. They had never seen leadership like this. Not in Lagos. Not in Nigeria. Not anywhere. Oluchi walked to the front of the room again. Her voice softened, yet it carried the weight of a nation's conscience. Let today be a lesson to all leaders, whether you are a manager, a politician, a business owner, a head of department, or a supervisor. She paused. In Nigeria, we often forget that the lowest worker is still a human being. With dreams. With responsibilities. With dignity. Her eyes glistened. A company is not judged by how it treats its executives, but by how it treats its cleaners. The room bowed in collective shame. We cannot call ourselves successful when the people serving us are suffering. We cannot boast of wealth while those who help us maintain it go home hungry. She inhaled deeply. Let this building become an example that justice is not a luxury, but a responsibility. Then she added. And let this story be told, so that others may learn. In the days that followed, the entire company transformed. Salaries were paid immediately. Benefits were restored. Cleaning equipment was renewed. Staff welfare became a priority. Anonymous report systems were introduced. Every corrupt loophole was sealed. And most importantly, respect returned. Humanity returned. A new culture of accountability took root. Employees worked with renewed pride. The fear that once filled the hallways faded away like smoke. People whispered everywhere. Madam has returned. Justice has returned. Okoye Holdings is alive again. One evening, as sunset washed the sky in soft orange, Oluchi walked alone through the lobby she once cleaned. This time as the owner. But remembering who she had been inside these walls. A voice behind her called gently. Madam. She turned. It was Mama Peace, holding a bouquet of fresh flowers. These are from all the cleaners, she said. They said, thank you for seeing us. Oluchi accepted the flowers with a warm smile. Thank you for helping me see the truth, she replied. Mama Peace nodded. Sometimes, God hides a queen in dust so she can understand the cries of the dust. Oluchi's chest tightened with emotion. She hugged the woman who had unknowingly stood beside her throughout the battle. Weeks later, the story spread across Lagos, then across Nigeria, then across Africa. People called it the billionaire cleaner. The day a CEO became a janitor. The woman who fought for the invisible. And long after the news faded, the message remained. Real power is not measured by how high you stand, but by how low you are willing to bend to lift others. Mrs. Oluchi Okoye never bragged about what she did. She never granted interviews or public statements. She never sought applause. Her legacy lived in changed lives, in restored dignity, in justice. In the new Okoye Holdings, the company reborn through humility. And somewhere deep within her heart, she smiled at the irony. The greatest battle she ever won, she fought with a mop in her hand.